Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, know nothing, control everything. We always want to let you know we appreciate you for listening live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the vault, episode 439, myth series. Still on that myth series, inflation. Definitely want to talk about this episode. This is coming after 11 months of questions in 2022, uh, 2 years after you didn't even see a recession uh, in 2020, but it was a market slowdown. So we're going to talk about it today. This is the Vault, episode 439, the Myth series. This is to have a conversation to let people know what this thing of inflation looks like, and not to get on the actual definition of inflation because so many people have questions about what they consider this term inflation. It is a rate of change of prices. Um, we're sure many people have seen the rate of change, whether it was at the gas pump, uh, whether it was at the grocery store, whether it was their rent or their mortgage prices being adjusted year over year, depending on what bank, depending on what leasing company they're going with, additional expenses, whether it's insurances and things like that. Prices have gone up. Well, why did prices go up? Because people got stimmy checks. When the government pumps quantitative easing into the market, that's fattening up a hog that's going to get slaughtered. Oh, Trust Christian Revolt, that's what this inflation is coming from? Well, there would have been no need to have inflation. Why? Why is there inflation? Because for almost a year and a half, people didn't pay their mortgages. For almost 2 years, people didn't pay their mortgages. People didn't pay their rent. So if you accepted the checks, now you know why you're experiencing gas companies experience the largest profits they did ever on record in 2022 for 2 quarters straight. But that's not the only reason. Oh man, you know, well, Twitch Christian Revolt, those checks, the government shut the market down. They didn't shut the market down. They gave out an advisory mandate. They gave out a public mandate, not a private mandate, a public mandate. This is where the private comes in to be able to control your own financial future. The government is the people. Did you vote for the mandate? No, you think someone else is in control of your life. That's not the case. You got to assume responsibility. You got to take control. Well, prices went up. What did you do? Did you trim a little bit of fat off the hog? Hey, we're not going out to the movies right now. Hey, we're not going to go out and eat as much as we used to. Hey, we're not going to go out do all that little extra knick-knack spending in the middle of the year. We're gonna light it back up in the third and fourth quarter. Right. So let's talk about what this so-called inflation that this so-called Fed is trying to tackle. Because if the Fed was trying to tackle inflation, people say, oh, they're raising interest rates. Well, have you looked at the dollar index? The dollar has been light 'em up for 3 quarters straight. The dollar has been at all-time highs, not all-time highs, but 20-year highs. We'll say 20-year highs. When was the last time the dollar was the most valuable as it is in second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter 2022? We're in fourth quarter 2022, but when was the dollar as valuable or more valuable than most currencies in the world? 2020. Excuse us, 2000. Yeah, 2000 when there was a dot-com bubble. That's when the dollar was as strong as it is right now. 22 years later, 20 years later. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about this, what you call inflation. We're sitting here looking at these companies right now that are just laying off people left and right. Pick them and choose them. They're laying them off. Oh man, Trust Christian Revolt. They are laying off people in the public sector. Some you all's favorite CEO, Elon Musk. Oh, the deal goes through with Twitter. He lays off the workforce. You want to know what this is? Classic cost cutting efficiency. Classic cost cutting expenses. What's the greatest expense in any company? The employees, the employee benefits, people calling out sick, people trying to take off for mental health. And guess what he did? He wasn't too concerned. He said lay him off. He wasn't concerned about inflation. Why? He cut the number one expense in the company, the employees. So let's talk about it. We're going to talk about some companies today. We're not promoting any of these companies. We're just talking about these companies. Alrighty. Reported since October. This is just in October. Open Door, 18% of its workforce. This is what you do when the cost has gone up. When the dollar is expensive, the Fed is trying to raise interest rates to lower the cost of your dollar. The dollar that everybody in the United States, oh, it's not real money. I can't believe the States is at one of the strongest positions it's ever been. Why? Because people in the States are working. China, who's being your mass producer of products, has been shut down at least 2 or 3 quarters in 2022. And it was shut down in 2021. Talking about a zero COV policy, COVID policy. They're doing zero COVID policy, right? They've been doing that for a year and a half. They shut down the manufacturing for the world. So don't be upset at the states and the Fed for hiking the interest rates when your favorite manufacturer's country shut down their whole country. Shut it down. Talking about some zero COVID policy. May not know some of these companies, may know some of these companies. Qualcomm got a hiring freeze. Oracle, up to 200 jobs. Galaxy Digital, up to 20% of their company. Zillow, 300. Seagate, 3,000. Let's look at this. Alphabet, slow down. Compass, slow down. Klarna, slow down. Spotify, slow down. Amazon, slow down. DocuSign, slow down. We're talking about the companies that have either slowed down their hiring process, they got a hiring freeze in place because the cost of the dollar is so high. So when they bring employees in, what are the employees saying? Well, I want this benefit and I want that benefit because my life is so expensive right now. The cost of oil and everything else. Okay. DocuSign, slow down. Lyft, slow down. Peloton, slow down. SoftBank, slow down. Apple, your favorite, the trillion-dollar company. The trillion-dollar company, right? Guess what? Slow down. They didn't say they weren't making money because we can go to their revenue. We can go to their earnings. They didn't miss. They stopped hiring. For now. GE, slow down. Meta, your favorite social media company that you're spending massive amounts of time on, wasting time possibly. Slow down. Philips, slow down. Tesla, oh what? The guy that just did a what? The guy that just did a cut for the company that he bought out, he's got a hiring freeze in place. Philips, Zillow, slow down. Beyond Meat, slow down. Gap, slow down. Microsoft, slow down. Twitter, slow down. Boeing, slow down. Goodyear, slow down. The Clorox company, the company that you're using, that the stock went out of the roof doing the COVID. Remember that company? They got a slowdown going on. Manufacturer over in China, they wanted to do a country freeze. That affected the world. They're not making cheap products right now. They stopped. For almost a year and a half, they've disrupted supply chains. Now you know who your best friends and your worst enemies are. They want to be over there in some country. Oh, we need to get cheap products. Just move offshore. All these companies moved offshore. Not all of these companies in particular we're talking about, but these companies moved offshore. Oh, we're gonna get cheaper products. And then these people in their country, this communist country, wants to do. What did they do? They stopped supply chains from working by stopping manufacturing. Now you got to go somewhere else to get your products, Americans. Intel, slow down. Netflix, slow down. Walmart, slow down. Robinhood, slow down. The list goes on and on. And people want to say, oh man, it's the Fed hiking interest rates. That's what's making the economy so expensive. That's what's making inflation this, that, and the third. No, these companies have slowed down their hiring process. That's what's going on. Oh man, but they were doing it to do what? Hold on. The Fed was tackling interest rates. They wanted to make the cost of the dollar go back down to more moderate and equal and competitive rates globally. Because you had the unfair player over in China that wanted to stop manufacturing in supply chains. But let's not forget the elephant in the room. There's a war going on, people. There was a war that was declared in 2022. And for that reason, not only did it disrupt European supply chains, guess what? It disrupted global supply chains. See, this is an education in macroeconomics. We're not getting too specific. We're not getting too specific. We're talking about some of the small details and the importance of you understanding the importance of what we're talking about here. The importance of what? The importance of understanding what this so-called thing inflation is. People want to sit here and say, oh man, the economy's out of control, the Fed is this, that, and the third. First of all, the economy is probably not going to go into a recession. You want to know why? Have you all been listening to the Fed? Did you hear what the Fed said? The Fed said, we're tackling the labor market. What's the labor market? For the ones that don't understand what that means that the labor market is strong. They're trying to actually get people out of jobs. That's why these companies are cutting jobs. Hiring freezes. These companies had a lot of money. When you got $1 trillion on hand over at Tesla, when you got $1 trillion on hand at Apple, they were hiring people. That's it. These companies were actually hiring people. These American companies were hiring people. These semiconductor companies, they passed the CHIPS Act. So they passed the CHIPS Act. What are they going? They're trying to onshore chips again. These semiconductors that you're using in your cell phone and your computers. Well, when you're hiring, people have money. Oh, the American consumer is resilient. They just keep shopping. So prices are staying high because the consumer is resilient in America. They keep shopping. They're not maybe spending all of this excess amount of money, but they're still spending money. They're still traveling. We need to get down what? Inflation. The Fed said we're tackling the labor market. The labor market? Yeah. These companies were hiring, and then you see company after company after company that say, you know what? We're just going to stop hiring for right now. The Fed wants us to stop hiring people so people can't have money, quote unquote, to go out and buy things. Maybe useless things, maybe not. Nevertheless, if you don't have a job, how you gonna have money? Oh, are you gonna go on unemployment? Did you look at the most current? This is November 11th, 2022. The jobs market is as strong as it's been in a while. People were tired of sitting at home and not working. They beat expectations. People are actually trying to work so they can have a decent Thanksgiving and Christmas. We know that. What did the Fed say? Well, we need to slow that down a little bit. So, is it a free market? Sure. You live in a free market if you're in the States. Clearly, if you're in China, it's called communism. So, are you guys ready to trade off free market for China's communism? Because they had a zero COVID policy. Or you want to go live in Australia where you couldn't leave the country for a whole year. You couldn't leave, and if you lived there, you couldn't go back for a whole year. We're going to talk about it. The Fed said, and has been saying this for every time they come on. We are in a robust, strong labor market. The consumer is strong. Well, consumers work jobs. So they're trying to slow down people from working and having money. So when you were buying houses for 1%, 2%, 3% interest rates, Fed says, you know what? There's a lot of people doing that. We're going to raise the interest rates to 4, 5, 6% interest rates. That's all. We want to slow down people from buying houses right now. How many people you know buying houses right now? Oh, they're causing a recession. Go look at these companies. They just slowed down on revenue. They're hitting earnings from what we're seeing. They're hitting their earnings. Companies are getting their money. People are slowing down their spending because the oil companies that had lights out, record what happens to oil during the summer? Gas prices go up during the summer. That's it. It's not a coincidence. People were spending the interest rates when the interest rates were at 1, 2, 3%. People were traveling like crazy. Oh, we're on vacation. We just left COVID. We're going to start traveling and going on leisure trips. Yeah, that's what they're tackling. They wanted to cut down on the leisure, get people to actually just not spend as much money. But people in the States, it's a consumer based economy. They're spending like crazy. Yeah, we'll tell you what they were spending money on: houses that were at 1, 2, and 3% interest rates. They were at 5, they were 4, they were at 5. People slow down buying houses, right? That's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, the Fed's gonna tackle the interest rate, tackle the inflation. Okay, what's that? The rate of prices going up because people are spending money? No. Let's go back and listen to Jerome Powell. What is he saying right now? He said, we're tackling the labor market. That's why we went over those companies and showed you they stopped hiring or they slowed down or they cut jobs. Why? Because the Fed has said we need people to not have those jobs so they can stop spending as much and keeping oil companies and all these other companies from profiting. Is that really how it works? That's how it looks to work. That's how it looks to work. They said we're tackling the labor market. If you got a job, you're blessed, right? Right. And then your favorite CEO, Elon Musk goes into a company and cuts almost half its workforce. because he's doing cost efficiency type of economic plays, which every major CEO has done in 50 to 100 years. The most expensive thing, they cut employees so the employees don't have money. But then what the Fed is seeing is they're seeing that people are actually losing a job and they're going out and getting another job somewhere else. Oh no, did we just pull the cat out of the hat? That's what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, we rode in an Uber car today. The gentleman works for the DOD. The gentleman has a master's degree. Why are you driving for Uber if you have a master's degree? Why are you driving for Uber if you work for DOD? Well, this is what the gentleman said. Well, I didn't want to go put a vacation that I want to take on a credit card. So people that are normally supposed to just put it on a credit card, guess what? They're taking second jobs. You're seeing more and more people get into the gig society, working these part-time jobs. That's what you're seeing. And what did the Fed say? We need to slow down this turnover in jobs. Because people are leaving one job and just going to get a part-time job. Because they want to feed their families. Because they want to still continue living the lifestyle that they're living. That's what it looks like. And the Fed is tackling that. For sure. And so people want to say, oh, well, there's going to be a recession. Has it been one yet? No. GDP is still up. Positive is positive. It's still up. Why won't you see a recession? Even though they call for it? You probably won't see it. We'll call it at the vault. You probably won't see it because this is the part that the world doesn't want to hear. This is the part that the weenies don't want to hear. Yes, the American spirit is resilient. They don't want to be in poverty. They don't want to be dependent on the government. So yes, they're going to go take a part-time job. The ones that have some real character. The ones that have some real gull about them. They're going to go out. They're going to work. And that's that. So when you hear the Fed say, we're tackling the labor market, that's what the Fed's doing. They're tackling the fact that Americans want to work and not be stuck like in China in some communist country talking about we're doing a zero COVID policy. Think about how beautiful it is for you to live in a jurisdiction where they're at least allowing you to work. They're allowing you? I thought it was a free market. Right. That's the way it's supposed to be. A free market. But you see in other jurisdictions, it's not a free market. So aren't you blessed to live in a free market where you don't have some regime telling you we're doing a zero COVID policy? And how's that working for the world? But don't forget about that war over there in Europe right now. That is affecting supply chains. That is affecting oil prices. American oil is expensive right now because one of the largest oil producers in the world, one of them, Russia, has what? They've been sanctioned. Bottom line. So who do you think's buying the oil right now from America? Europe? Other countries? What's going on with Brazil? Just went through an election. Petrobras, a state-owned gas producer. Look into it. But we're going to talk to you all about what you think is this inflation thing is some spooky number, it's some spooky calculation. The Fed said they're trying to tackle inflation, right? Right. The rate of change of prices, right? Right. With interest rates going up, right? Right. That means when you bought a house in 2016 for $150,000, now in 2022, 6 years later, 7 years later, when you bought it for 150, now it's worth 300. Now it's worth 500. That's what we're hearing on the street. And those same people that bought those houses, they're not selling right now. Why? They're not selling because the prices are high for real estate overall. So when they sell out, they're going to make some profit. And then guess what? They're going to go into another property where the prices are not going to allow them to not have a mortgage again. Otherwise, they have to downsize. That's the difference. Are you aware of that? Ask your friends that got houses. Hey, what was your housing price 2015, 2016? Yeah. What's the housing price in 2022? Is it up or is it down? But the Fed said they're tackling labor markets. And that's why you're seeing these major tech companies, which have held America up for quite a few years now, slow down on hiring. Job cuts. We just wanted to put this out there so we can let you all know from the Vault's perspective, from an inside the trust perspective, trusteeship perspective, inside of the Vault perspective, what they talk about this thing and inflation, and then they're saying, oh, there's some recession coming. What recession? That means people aren't working. That means people aren't spending money. Oh, they're spending money because they have jobs. And when these other countries open back up, what do you think these companies are going to do? Release their freezes. When supply chains open back up, what do you think they're going to do with these freezes? And they're going to open the market back up to where people are hiring again. Cutting jobs was a cost efficiency plan. Number one expense in the job, number one expense in the company, employees. Their lifestyle. Americans were definitely enjoying a lot of leisure activities as soon as the markets open back up. Bottom line, that's what the Fed is attacking right now. They raised the interest rate so you can slow down on some of your leisure spending. Letting these companies go on a terry. These companies are making money hand over fist. The oil company, how could the oil company make money if people weren't buying oil? They were making money because people were traveling during the summer, during the spring, when the prices were high. But they had to get to work. That's what you think. They weren't just going to work. They were traveling. They were going down to Tulum, Mexico. They were traveling to South Florida. They were traveling to Texas. They were traveling. People were actually moving. That's what's going on. We don't see the recession that they're calling for. Unfortunately, that's a hard thing for people to grasp. Oh man, so if you want to be baited into fear, oh, it's going to be a recession, have at it. But we don't see it. We really don't. What we do see is just the same thing we saw in 2022. Strong dollar. We see a strong labor market. And they've done these firings, they've done job raises in 2022, and you think people don't want to work? Do you not want to work? Because that's what's going on. Do you not want to work? Because if you don't want to work, of course there's going to be a recession. Oh man, we need to see unemployment. They're not even happy with the unemployment numbers. Oh man, the unemployment needs to go up. Why? Why? So you can be dependent on the government? Is that why they need the unemployment to go up? Unfortunate that people don't know how to read these readings and read these numbers. Very unfortunate. We look forward to hearing from you all. hfrn.vault at gmail.com. Once again, that's hfrn.vault at gmail.com. We got our workshop coming up. We're going to throw that on the screen here so you all can see uh, where we are. We actually have already planned our first quarter workshop for the vault. Already have it planned. We're going to be posting that here after we get through with this webinar. We already have the next workshop planned. Look forward to seeing you all at that workshop. Look forward to seeing you all at the webinar. This webinar here is focused on public versus private foundation. It's just very important for people to have a good training. Why? Because we're walking into times where the foundations are running the countries, specific to states. That's who's running the countries. So when we talk about it, we're going to talk about it. We're going to be training our foundation trustees. But for non-foundation trustees, this is just one of those moments where, if you want to be in the class, that's great. But we've had quite a few foundation trustees for the whole year, and we're going to make it a point to do an end of the year training specifically for them. But we're going to talk about the benefits of investing in permanent industries from foundations. We're going to talk about private family banking from foundations. We're going to talk about avoiding probate and estate liens from the foundations. And we're going to talk about compliance in the charity and foundations, specifically private foundations. So we look forward to hearing from you all. hfrn.vault at gmail.com. Once again, that's hfrn.vault at gmail.com. Look forward to hearing from you all.